Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend and colleague, Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Fantastic, my friend. Excited for today's conversation. We're going to get into a research report out of the Journal of Nutrition and Healthy Aging today. Effects of 8-hour time-restricted feeding, a.k.a. 16-8 intermittent fasting on body weight and metabolic disease risk factors in obese adults, a pilot study.
Excellent.
Have some cool action steps and insights and nuance and takeaways that you can put into your day-to-day fasting lifestyle as we speak. We are now 2 days away from the official start of the holiday season. We've got Thanksgiving lurking. We're coming out of our final challenge of the year. Exciting times.
Yeah.
So we want to give you some action steps, big picture action steps as we wrap up 2025 and we can make 2026 the best year yet. So we'll get into that in just a minute. If you are new to the podcast, welcome in. Thanks for giving us a shot. Thanks for being a part of our Fasting for Life journey. If you want to know more about us and our story and how fasting transformed our lives, head back to episode 0, episode 1. Give it a listen. It'll give you some insights into why we do this week in and week out, why we have the resources, the website, the challenges, the coaching, etc. Because we want to take on the obesity and chronic health-related issues, epidemics that we're experiencing here.
Yeah.
One person, one listen, one download, one rate, one review at a time. So we're going to give a shout out here to one of our 5-star reviews. This is, thank you so much, Dan, the Wisconsin man.
Yeah.
For taking the time to give us a 5-star review that tells the podcast gods and goddesses of the world. I don't really know how it works, but it tells those AI-driven metrics that it gives us feedback that we are providing value week in and week out. So thank you for being on this mission.
Definitely helps fuel our fire every time we flip on the microphones for sure. Because I mean, we're in it for long-term transformations, which is where the conversation began for us. And absolutely, we love to hear about the success stories, the wins. Dan, the Wisconsin man. Thanks to Scott and Tommy for doing all this research, sharing it with the world. You're welcome. I binged every episode, start to finish. Wow. And I'm now starting it over from episode 1 again. That's incredible. Also read many of the book recommendations like Atomic Habits, Obesity Code, Salt, Sugar, Fat, etc. I was 230 at my heaviest, now at 173. That's incredible, Dan.
Wow. Shout out, Dan, the Wisconsin man. Good work, bud.
So great. Hadn't got diabetes yet, or at least not diagnosed, but was surely on that path. And blood sugar levels are now exceptional, taking no meds, doing pull-ups every day. Being almost 60 pounds lighter makes everything so much easier. Things as simple as putting my socks on. And I haven't done one of the challenges yet. Plan to, but now I'm in maintenance mode and I still want to occasionally challenge myself and keep fasting at the forefront. Can't thank you guys enough. I love that perspective, Dan.
Man,
absolutely.
Goosebumps.
I know when you go into maintenance mode, you know, we absolutely don't want to treat it like another diet or a diet roller coaster where we just kind of go, okay, I got to my end goal. Whew. Now I can just go back to whatever. No, we want to adapt those tools that help get you there during that transformation process. And we want to use those in an adapted way to maintain control over the scale, over the blood work, over how you're feeling, over your family history, and just feeling great. That's amazing. Keep up the great work, Dan.
Shout out, Dan, the Wisconsin man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Special shout out as well to the long-term listeners, the OGs, the folks that keep us motivated to keep bringing you content each and every week. Thank you guys for listening in. Your likes, shares, rates, reviews, messages. Just did a really cool question and answer episode last week. So go ahead and head back to that, especially if you're a runner and you want to talk about running and fasting. We did a deep dive on that and a lot of other great questions as well. So let's talk about this article today, Tommy. Effects of 8-hour time-restricted feeding. So that's really a 16-8 fasting window.
Yeah.
On body weight and metabolic disease risk factors in obese adults. So this is a pilot study, so there are limitations. But we'll just go over the study overview and then talk about some of the really cool things and big picture application in terms of how we look at in adapting a true fasting lifestyle, not just for weight loss, which in this group we feel would be one of the main reasons why people come to fasting, overweight, obese category of BMI. You're looking for some weight loss. You're looking to feel better, right? You're looking to get off the calorie in, calorie out, calorie tracking, macro counting, scale dependent weight loss diet culture roller coaster. Man, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
And really get you into a more adaptable lifestyle. And we're just going to talk through that today. But the study was a 12-week pilot study, and it investigated an 8-hour time-restricted feeding. So this is where you're going to have an 8-hour, what we like to call nutrition opportunity. So a 16-8 fast, so 16 hours fasting, 8 hours of nutrition opportunity, eating window. It had an ad libitum eating 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and fasting from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. So ad libitum just means there were no guidelines on, hey, you need to eat this, this, and this. So it was like, you're going to fast and then you're going to eat. Right? I love
they didn't even dictate the number of calories or the number of macronutrients or a balance. No, nothing. Just eat intuitively at that point.
Which is cool for the chronic obesity epidemic that we have right now, where 74.7%, 75% of the population is either overweight or obese, which leads to chronic lifestyle conditions, cardiometabolic issues, etc. So it's kind of like this applies to the gen pop, right? To the general population, as I like to say. So
mere mortals like us.
Yep, in 23 obese adults, and it compared it to a matched historical control group with no diet intervention. So people just living their life day to day, right? Standard American diet type stuff. So the time-restricted feeding group reduced their daily eating window from an average of 11 hours to 8 hours. And this is the cool part, because we teach this, is the 80% rule. Anyone ever gone on a diet before? And you're like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to never eat a carbohydrate again. I'm going to, whatever the diet strategy is, right? Meal prepping, meal planning, recipes, whatever. You hired a coach, you got a trainer, whatever it is. And you start and you're like, man, I'm going to crush it. And then you get a few weeks in and guess what? The motivation, the willpower start to fade. The scale isn't giving you the expectation that you wanted. You get tired, you get sick, life happens.
Or one part of the plan falls off and then everything else slips by because you go, I'm not doing everything. So this one thing dropped off, all or nothing. So everything should just drop off at this point. And I did that 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, my gosh. So many failed repetitions of that. Or just a weekend event. And then you're like, wait a minute, I did it again. I'm starting over again on Monday. So the cool part about this is the adherence to this was 5.6 days a week. So we teach, Tommy, the 80% rule, progress over perfection, right?
Yeah. And do you know the exact percentage of 5.6 out of 7?
Let me guess, it's 80%.
It's exactly 80%.
Ah!
It really is. And the cool thing
that was
here
not
is,
planned, by the way. I don't do math in real time.
No, in real time I busted out the calculator and it's exactly 80%, which is funny, but it's also it's a great testament to, it doesn't have to be perfect to be effective and also to be intuitive too, because it allows a little bit of like, oh, okay, well, yesterday wasn't great, or I was off, or let me take a day off this week, or it's basically a day and a half off every week where it's a little less structure. And so that typically is enough for you to not have to feel like overly restricted. And then I'm just saying no to everything. And which then prevents a lot of pent up demand that then you tend to overdo it or really kind of go off the rails because you've been feeling like that. And so the adherence was, and this was across 12 weeks. And so, during the first, like probably 8 weeks or so, it was slightly higher. It may have been like 85%, but over a 12-week period, I mean, that's really good. And that's very sustainable over the long term.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation about that long-term strategy here, and then share a story or a conversation that I've shared periodically from time to time about my dad's journey as well. But when we look at the main results of the study, right, we saw that 2.6 kilogram, about 3% body loss. So that's like 5 3/4 pounds, like 5.73 pounds, right, over 12 weeks. And the weight reduction was about that 341 calorie decrease, but it didn't require calorie counting.
Right.
So does anyone want to raise their hand for that?
Yeah, right? Think about that over the whole year.
What?
Think about that over the whole year.
Yeah, if we extrapolate that over the whole year, I mean, that's, so, let's say 6 pounds a quarter. That's 24, 25 pounds over the course of the year.
That's great.
That's incredible with simply keeping a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. window, right? 16-8. We'll talk about our interpretation of really how that's more of a maintenance strategy for most folks, especially in the obese category that might have some insulin resistance. We'll talk about the insulin resistance numbers here in just a second. But overview, blood pressure, systolic blood pressure decreased significantly by 7 points in the fasting group. Here's where it became interesting. Body composition. No statistically significant changes were found for fat mass, lean mass, or visceral fat mass, but there were underlying metabolic changes. We didn't see significant decreases in diastolic blood pressure, heart rate, LDL, HDL, cholesterol, triglycerides, fasting glucose, fasting insulin. However, we're going to highlight insulin in just a second, or inflammation markers. Now, macronutrient composition across all groups remained unchanged. So composite cholesterol, fiber intake, physical activity remained unchanged between the groups. And the big takeaway is that this really demonstrates that a simple 8-hour 16-8 fasting strategy earlier in the day, right? So 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes. Good point.
And you're more insulin sensitive, results in modest weight loss in obese adults or overweight adults without requiring calorie counting.
Yeah. And you could also frame it as a great way to intuitively maintain control over, your caloric intake, your insulin levels, what the scale's doing, how you're feeling, your overall inflammation levels. And I think if we just started there, because for us, what we saw was that when we weren't dieting, we would see slow ticking up of the scale over time. Like moving average was going up, and then our
frog in a boiling pot of water.
For sure. It's like, okay, well, this number's getting a little bit higher, but it's not frustrating or uncomfortable enough to really take the big first step to start doing something about it until it reached a certain number or it crossed a certain threshold, or there was a certain level of like, man, looking in the mirror, none of my clothes are fitting right, or I have some sort of impending date that's coming up, external urgency. And so once that happened, then there was enough motivation to like take that next action. But understanding that we can pull a simple lever, 16-8, with high level compliance and then maintain a level of control. This can be the foundation of your fasting lifestyle right here. This can be the foundation of your fast cycling, even if you're in a fat loss phase. Having a baseline for long-term maintenance is an important foundation.
So I want to get into a couple of the really specific changes that we saw in terms of the metrics that they tracked. So one thing I want to highlight again is this is ad libitum, right? So there were no guidelines, right? So we always like to teach like prioritize protein, backfill with healthy fats and fiber, and then, if you're in a fat loss phase, limiting the insulin spiking carbohydrates, 20 to 30%, and build your plate with intention and avoiding that ultra processed, ultra refined, convenient, obesogenic food environment that we live in, right? So. Yeah. But the cool thing is you didn't have to track. This was just ad libitum. Like open the window, eat some food, close your window at 6 p.m. and move on. So if you've been on the diet roller coaster, this is a great place to start, knowing that this is your fallback. This is your basement. Then you can add in those more additional fasting windows. You can use the Blueprint to Fasting for Fat Loss. It's in the show notes. It's a free 20-page PDF. We'll email it over to you. And our tech stack it'll automatically end up in your inbox. And it'll give you some fasting schedules that you can actually, because what I found personally is that 16-8 is more of like my basement. If I'm at 16-8 consistently week over week, month over month, I need a little bit more fasting based on my metabolic history and my metabolic profile as being an undiagnosed pre-diabetic, having high levels of insulin resistance, having a much higher BMI due to the body composition that I currently keep, which is about 170 pounds of lean muscle. So I'm never going to end up in the ideal BMI. And we've done podcast episodes on the dislike we have with BMI, and we like to look more at visceral fat, waist circumference, waist height ratio, those types of things.
Yeah, BRI, body roundness index. Check out that episode if you haven't heard it.
Absolutely. So it's really of like a catch-all. Doubling down on our effects. For me, a 16-8 window is like, man, if sleep's been crap, I'm traveling, I'm stressed out, life's lifing, whatever it is. I know that 16-8 is going to help me tread water.
Okay.
Right?
I'm gonna see it tick up a little bit for me personally. I need to be at about 18, 19 hours for a good like treading water, especially when sleep is low, stress is high.
But I'm stripping it, all the tools and recommendations we have, I'm stripping this down to just the bottom basement deal.
Yeah.
Like you're simply just keeping a window.
Yeah, because when stress is high, it can really be tough to pull really kind of any lever sometimes. Like motivation might be at zero, might be at negative. Stress is high, sleep is very low. And so it can, so having this to rely on without any need for willpower, I mean, that's a powerful, mindset foundation right there.
Yep, absolutely. So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty details, because the first thing I want to mention here is they mention a weight loss threshold. Now, again, limitations. This isn't a randomized controlled double-blind study, but I love that there's some takeaways that we can take away from a general fasting lifestyle adaptation standpoint. The first one we hit was the adherence, right? This just simplifies. Fasting can simplify your life, right? There were no food recommendations. They simply just followed the window, and they saw almost a 6-pound weight loss over 12 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. But the adherence, that 80% rule, progress over perfection, right? That getting off of that strict diet roller coaster, that on-off type mentality that we already talked about. The second thing I want to highlight here is what we call the weight loss threshold. So the degree of weight loss in this study was 2.6%, right? Which is that about, about that 5.73 pounds. That is likely insufficient to significantly improve metabolic outcomes.
Yeah.
You typically have to hit that 5% weight loss goal. And we've done this in dozens of studies where we will see 5, 10, 12, 15% weight loss in 12-week studies. And that's where we truly see a lot of the metabolic markers change. Mm-hmm. However, in this one, we did see the BMI come down 1 point. We did see the systolic blood pressure come down 7 points. But I want to highlight here, cholesterol, total cholesterol, HDL, triglycerides all stayed primarily the same, although triglycerides did come down about 10 to 12 points, which I thought was cool. I know it's not statistically significant, right, in terms of the data interpretation of the study, but that's still a huge move in the right direction for such a minimal lever pulled and just simply keeping an ad libitum open eating window 16-8 strategy, right? So that's why I really want to double down on this. This is your basement. This is your catch-all. This is your safe zone, right, to go back to. The fasting glucose stayed about the same, but fasting insulin went from 8.3 plus or minus 1 all the way down to 5.7.
That's huge.
Plus or minus 0.7.
That's huge. And that's with almost 50% of calories coming in as carbohydrates as well.
So Standard that American diet, yep.
Yeah, that wasn't even like, shrinking that. And this is only with 16, 17% of calories coming in as protein, which is less than half of what we know to be optimal, especially for fat loss purposes.
Yeah, so we want 30 to 40% protein. We want 20 to max 30% carb for ideal fat loss, right? And that's what we found with all of our fasting protocols. So worst case scenario, all you're doing, you're not increasing movement, you're not putting macros, you're not prioritizing protein, you're not doing it more extended fast, we're not talking about hydration or sleep. You're literally doing a basic 16-8 window. And if we're going to talk about weight loss resistance and metabolic health, insulin is at the core of that. That's what we teach. We want to undo insulin resistance, increase metabolic function, give your body the ability to increase its insulin sensitivity or the effectiveness of its insulin to tap into long-term fat stores. And it decreased from 8.3 to 5.7. All we need to do is give this more time. And this is kind of what happened with my dad back in the day. 70 years old, 30-year diabetic, on 120 units of insulin, on 17 medications. He's off 15 of those. He's lost 65 to 70 pounds. He fluctuates. His A1C, his fasting insulin, his fasting blood sugar, all better now than they were when he was on all the medications. But I remember back when he started fasting, we started simply with a 16-8 window. And then he started doing some 1 meal a days. And he lost about 30 pounds in that first 45 days. And he was psyched. He's like, holy crap, the incredible shrinking man. I feel great. He's no longer falling asleep at the dinner table, injecting himself with insulin multiple times a day. 120 units of insulin a day, right? 30-year diabetic. But I remember having a conversation because he got frustrated after that initial 30-pound weight loss. And he's like, the scale's not moving. I'm like, you're being stubborn. So you just lost 30 pounds in the first 30 to 45 days. I can't remember the exact timeline.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to cut that weight loss in fourths, right? So let's say he lost 30 pounds in 30 days. If you just extrapolate that out over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, with the perspective that you've been a 30-year diabetic,
mm-hmm.
The similar takeaway from this study is just under 6 pounds in 12 weeks doing the bare minimum with a fasting lifestyle. If you extrapolate that over the year, it's 24 pounds. 2 years, it's 48 to 50 pounds. The fact that that is a lever, a simple basic lever you can pull, we just need to zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, what am I trying to accomplish with my fasting lifestyle, right?
And what did I do before? What did I create? What kind of physiological environment? What kind of additional fat stores did I create? How long did it take? And dang it, let me just be a little bit more patient and understand that this is working. I just need to stick with it. And why wouldn't I stick with it? Because remember, from a mindset standpoint, sometimes patience is a form of resistance. Impatience is a form of resistance. So sometimes we start making ourselves impatient because it feels like we kind of have it figured out. We just need to do it. And now, dang it, I wish it would just happen faster. Well, guess what? You're not in control of that time frame sometimes. And again, it took a long time to create it. So let me just keep going. And this is where we talk about finding ways to enjoy the process and continue to encourage yourself and maintain a positive mindset because it is working. I just need a little more patience. So maybe that's what I need to be working on during some of my additional time when I'm not spending time in the kitchen or at the table. Maybe I should pick up, a little self-encouragement, book, podcast, something that helps me kind of, build that patience muscle, because sometimes that's the weak link in my fasting lifestyle chain or my fat loss phase.
This brings me back to Father's Day 2019, standing in your kitchen when I had been struggling with this and I had yet to discover that I was an undiagnosed pre-diabetic, that my fasting insulin was really high.
Yeah,
all my other markers were still pretty much the same. Blood pressure was creeping up a little bit. Liver enzymes were slightly elevated. Triglyceride, HDL ratio was off.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I'm a healthcare provider, like teaching clients and patients how to lose weight and be healthy, yet I'm not seeing results, long-term results for myself.
Right.
So I hired that world-renowned nutritionist, cost me like $10K here in Houston, did 6 months with him, still saw some body composition changes, but was still struggling with chronic fatigue, chronic pain, sleep disturbances, all this stuff. And I just remember standing in your kitchen and be like, Tommy, what did you do? You look great. You lost 30 pounds, your background in master's in physiology and a degree in psychology. I'm like, put me on the couch, put me in the doctor's office. Like, what did you do? You handed me Dr. Jason Fung book. I went, the obesity code, went home and read it that night, started fasting, lost 48.5 pounds in 50 days, doing 24, 36, 48, and an occasional 72-hour fast. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I've arrived.
Right.
I've got the solution. And then 22.5 pounds later, that crept back on over the next 6 months. I was like, okay, hold on.
Because there was some longer term stuff, right? Habit and lifestyle and like, adaptability stuff.
All right, haven't figured this out yet. So then lost that 22, gained about 12 to 15 back after I had my surgery, and then lost that. Now I'm working on visceral fat, body composition. The reason I share that for you is we're about to head into the holiday season, right? Mm-hmm. So Thanksgiving's 2 days away. So rather than simply throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, nah, screw it, New Year's resolutions, here I come, I'm just gonna enjoy the holidays.
Take all the opportunities,
just gonna
no guardrails.
No guardrails, bumpers are off the bowling alley, right? The rails aren't up. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm gonna figure it out as I go. I'm gonna freelance my way through the holidays. And then restarting in January, which we know New Year's resolutions don't work. That's why most people don't make them anymore.
Think about the problem that I'm creating going from now until then.
Yep.
And then assuming motivation is going to be high, probably because frustration is going to be so high come January. So like I'm anticipating that, but I'm also creating a bigger problem for myself going forward over the next month and a half as well.
So here's the reality as we head into the holiday season is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but don't also go to the other way, which is I'm going to be so strict and I'm going to be that crazy aunt or uncle that shows up with their celery juice to Christmas and I'm going to bring my scale and weigh my turkey. And
I'm fasting on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, nope, not eating today. I'm grateful for fasting, right? Like, no, we don't want that either. So I want to encourage you, and I share my story around the first holiday season that I came into with a lot more confidence, is that if you're at that starting point, or if you've fallen off, or if you're ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater, or now's the time to double down and leverage the external holiday season, it's the time to really white-knuckle it and willpower your way through it. I want to encourage you that this right here in this study and the takeaway from this is 80% compliance. So what was it, Tommy, days?
5.6.
5.6 days out of 7 days a week. Thanksgiving week. Hello. Thursday, Friday. Dinner and leftovers. You can still have it.
All right.
But simply adopting this 8-hour eating window can be a simple, sustainable strategy to support your health and long-term weight loss goals, even as we enjoy time, tradition, and your favorite foods with family and friends.
Yeah, that's a great perspective because, when you start to get a few of these things right with some simple but mindful and intentional guardrails, like a 16-8, when you get that right, which is, it's fairly easy to do. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. When we get that right, when life is lifing, when the holiday season is here, when I have an internal pattern, I have a long-term pattern of just saying, yeah, you know what, the holidays or seasons are here upon us. I'm just not going to worry about my diet or my fat loss right now. I'll come back to it come early December or maybe January, New Year's time. I'll come back to it. When you get it right now during this time, when you usually just kind of let it go, then it makes it that much easier to get it right the rest of the time. Like you're building like a strong insulated foundation right there that, come the in-between times, between holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or after Christmas is over, after New Year's is over, it's so much easier. Like the momentum has already started. You've already been flexing that muscle. You've already been building the strength to do it during that time. And it makes it requires a lot less willpower, a lot less motivation to continue that momentum.
So I want to just kind of end today's conversation with that big picture perspective kind of look at things. Like, make sure we're zooming out. If you want more fasting strategies, feel free to head to the show notes, grab the Blueprint to Fasting for Fat Loss. It's going to give you some science behind why we do what we do, what insulin resistance is, give you some fasting ramp-up schedules. There's a 4-week example of how to do some more fasting. You can definitely apply that during the holiday season. Yep. But I just love the fact that if we're looking at bare minimum fasting adaptation, lifestyle adaptation, that a 16-8 window done consistently 80% of the time is still going to get you results. Now, a lot of us, we're going to have that impatient muscle. We're going to want to push the envelope, and you can absolutely do that with fasting. But it's not just the only lever you want to pull. You want to zoom out, have some perspective, enjoy the holiday season, but know that even at this baseline function, 16-8 with a 10 to 6 earlier eating window, you're still going to be making long-term repetitions and long-term strides for rebuilding that lifestyle, rebuilding those foundational habits that truly result in long-term weight loss and sustainable goals. So, Tommy, I just love this article. I know it has some limitations, but I love the way we could extrapolate some big picture, long-term perspectives around it.
Me too.
So excited for you guys. Whatever you listen to today, 1 or 2 things that resonated with you, that's what we want you to do as your action step today. How are you going to frame out Thanksgiving? How are you going to frame out the holidays? What's the next 6 weeks going to look like as we wrap up the year and move into 2026? Because I truly believe that fasting is a solution to get you once and for all off the dieting roller coaster, off the black and white on-off mentality when it comes to weight loss, and once and for all get the results that you truly deserve. So, Tommy, great conversation today, man. I appreciate the conversation as always, and we will talk soon. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving. See ya. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.